morning, and welcome to the main course of God Hour for September 12th. Continuing the book of Matthew, we're at chapter 15. Let's just dive right in. Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother. And he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah's prophecy of you say. I'll stop there for a moment to point out, I'd already paused to make out a point that was going to make out the point that Jesus is calling them hypocrites and criticizing them. But then in verse 7 he went on to actually state, Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying. And we've been hearing in the last few chapters Jesus referencing Isaiah, which I may not be pronouncing correctly, many times. You may be more familiar with his name as Isaiah. They are one and the same, but my appreciation of antique language and so on, that's why I prefer the traditional King James Version over, say, the Revised King James, or certainly over the NLT or even the ESV. Now, although the ESV is not absolutely horrible, but I think it's important to try to get as close to the original language as possible, which wasn't English, of course, but anyway, we've made these points many times in the past. But, well did Isaiah's prophecy of you, saying, verse 8, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Verse 10, And he called the multitude, this being Jesus, and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Declare unto us this parable. And Jesus said, Are ye also yet without understanding? Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast out into the draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. That's seems very clear to me. that what you're eating and how you're eating it is not what's going to destroy your soul or moral fiber. It's what you say and the thoughts that you have, and which lead to words that you say, which lead to actions that you commit. And those are indeed things that can defile a man. Not that I'm innocent of any, or, all of these. I've done plenty of things that I'm not proud of, and please don't assume that I am some sort of saint or innocent person, but I do try to get better. Anyway, this is not about me. The next section is captioned Tyre and Sodom. Verse 21. Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sodom. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I'd like to elaborate maybe in a minute. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs. And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. What I'm seeing here is compassion and empathy and some very human qualities in Jesus. Where at first he had decided, no, he was humble enough to also accept her response and hear her out, and was persuaded to do even as thou wilt. Anywho, next caption is by the Sea of Galilee, verse 29. And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to behold, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified the God of Israel. That particular paragraph, if you will, this seems more to be acknowledging and glorifying. There's no message in there other than Jesus was performing great healings and miracles. That's the word I would use. But it's important to also recognize multitudes, not just one or two, not just a dozen, but multitudes, which generally implies too many to count. I mean, would have said hundreds, might have even been thousands, but multitudes is a collective term for a great number that I just simply can't sit down and count them all because there's too many. That's a multitude. So multitudes received healing by the Sea of Galilee. And we're not talking about, chicken noodle soup to take care of that cold, but people that had never been able to speak now could. The maimed to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, like actual, what would be considered medical miracles by today's standards. If not actual miracle, it would take complicated surgeries and things that they just couldn't have fathomed ever being possible back then. And no surgeon could do that to multitudes, as Christ did. Anyway, our next caption is feeding 4,000. And if you remember from the last chapter, we touched on the feeding of the multitudes with the loaves and fish. Verse 32, Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples say unto him, Whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill so great a multitude? And Jesus saith unto them, How many loaves have ye? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up the broken meat that was left, 7 baskets full. And they that did eat were 4,000 men, beside women and children. And he sent away the multitude, and took ship, and came into the coast of Magdala. This is the same recounting, or a different recounting of the same event as yesterday. I'd like to know more about the timeline of when the book of Matthew was written. Not the timeline of the events in it, but when and where each chapter was written, and by whom. Because this particular chapter seems to be written by a different person than the previous chapter. It's a different accounting of the same event, some of the same events. But that in its own gives credibility, because when you hear the same story told from different people, it gives an element of credibility to it. The essence of faith doesn't require credibility. That's the definition of faith, is to believe in something that's not, scientifically verifiable. But anyway, that's Matthew 15, and we'll be continuing on with Matthew 16, obviously. Expect in the morning. But, I've got to get myself ready to go to work as usual. And yes, it does seem like I work every day, and sometimes I do. But it is what it is. Side note, Working is one of the easiest ways to glorify God, no matter what kind of job you do. You can do it in a manner that's pleasing to the Lord, whether you're a neuroscientist, neurosurgeon, rocket scientist, or French fry cook, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But work in its own gives you opportunity to serve the Lord, to spread the word, and all in all, keeps you focused so that you don't have, as they say, idle hands for which to be the devil's plaything. Anyway, I'm hitting it. Y'all have a good day. God bless you. See you soon. And till then.